I like how all these texts are just like throughout the class. Yeah. Do you want Yeah. What? I don't know.
At that point, I feel like people.
I know. That was so annoying. I was like, okay. I was a little weird yesterday. So people talking about I think it'd be interesting to see what I think that was pretty fun. Like, not so much a summary, it's like a making a discussion.
Do we want to start and say your name, pronouns, and what brought you here?
Oh, and your grade.
Okay.
And accessibility.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Eska. I use these and pronouns. I'm here. I'm a student, a senior. This is my last year. Here because I care about Evergreen. Also, have been part of organizing surrounding health operations and kind of for someone who saw a lot of things that can, and it is, I think, it is good in seeing the facilitation of the follow through of
I'm Sako today. I work in apartments and newspaper, and I'm really interested in making sure everybody kind of understands the current situation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alice. I'm faculty. I'm here to support students. I think it's really important to move into the next phase of the work, and that's what's going to make divestment and all the other things become realities. So here to support.
Hi, I'm Liz. I use she and they pronouns. I'm here because I don't want to live in a world with genocide, and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name's Soap. I use they, he pronouns. And I'm here because I really hope that the momentum for divestment can continue at Evergreen, and I think that it's really important to have a community that is dedicated to like actual political action rather than just purely talking about stuff, and so I think it's important that we cultivate this.
I'm Deneen. I use any pronouns. And I'm also here to just contribute in any way I can to make sure that what we've been struggling for and what we have been working for continues forward.
I'm Jaina. I use any and all pronouns. I'm a graduating senior. I'm here to support my comrades and also to see the follow through of this work. And my accessibility needs are met by the space.
My name is Juniper. I use they, he, she pronouns. I was very involved in the encampment and I put a lot of work in. I really, really want to see this DTF be following through and all of this work, the whole momentum to continue putting pressure on administration administration to continue building up student power. And yeah, just super grateful for everyone who put in so much work and want to support them in all their needs, and also helping each other like get this process through, and all my disability needs are met. Oh, also I'm software.
My name is Libby. I use they, she pronouns, and I'm a second year student, and I want to see Evergreen follow through with the DTS and, you know, and support my community and my accessibility concerns.
My name's Nate. I use he, they pronouns. Also here for a lot of the same reasons. I want to maintain the integrity of the institution that we are a part of, and I want to help the divestment process continue and make sure it is completed. I'm a freshman also.
Hi, I'm Alex. My pronouns are they, them. I was a member of the bargaining team. I'm here to make sure that everything that the administration agreed to, we hold them to it and make sure it all gets done. I am technically a senior, but I'll be here all through next year. And I would really appreciate it if people could try and project and also minimize side conversations because I have some hearing problems. That's my accessibility.
I'm Graham. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a graduating senior, theoretically. And I'm also a bargaining team person and here to make sure that what we got agreed on works out.
Andreas, he, him pronouns. I'm a senior as well. Here because I feel like this is the least we can do for Palestine, and just we gotta get this college to divest.
I'm Mango. I'm a senior at high school, but I'm here to support Evergreen students, and I don't have any accessibility needs.
I'm Casey, he, him. I was at the encampment, and I want to see the divestment follow through.
I'm Simon. I've taken classes here before, but I'm not currently enrolled. He, him pronouns. I'm just curious to hear how people are reflecting on the encampment and next steps, I guess. I'm hoping that there's a focus on that, presuming that there is. And yeah, I'm excited to support people here who are interested in pushing further in any and all anti-colonial struggles. But yeah, particularly to get this place to freaking divest sooner, hopefully, than 2026. I think that's not quite soon enough. So yeah. And my accessibility needs are met currently.
Can we get Zoom first? Yeah. Hey, Rose, do you want to do intros?
Yeah. So my name is Rose. I am a MES student, the Masters of Environmental Studies program. I am going to be here next year, and I really want to help make sure that this divestment happens. It needs to happen, I think, and a lot of times in these contexts, we're like, what can we do? And I think as far as like liberation here and helping Palestinians here, like this is what we have to do. And so I would like to be a part of it, and that is why I'm here. The only accessibility need I sometimes have is Zoom, and that's just because I live far away from campus, and I like to avoid burning too much gas in the process of getting there. But yeah.
Yeah.
I have it.
nice to see everybody here.
Bye. All right.
Back in this corner.
Yeah.
All right, Conifer, they, them, why I'm here. I've been hearing a lot of like conflicting stories about what happened, so I'm just kind of get an idea of what happened. And also, I've been I'm gonna compare that to things that I've seen in the last since 2009. I'm a senior. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Callie. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here because I'm curious on the process for divestment and also looking at the historical basis for divestment, both at Evergreen and on a larger scale. And I'm curious to see how that will go forward. And I'm a sophomore.
I'm Henry. I use she, they pronouns. I'm a freshman. I'm here because I want to solidify next steps that we as a collective can take to make sure that this gets done and accessibility.
I'm Teresa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a first year student at Evergreen, and I'm here because I think it's important to hold our administration accountable to the things they signed in the MOU. My accessibility needs are met.
My name is Colby. I use they, them pronouns. I'm here to just give my round reflections of the encampment, and I also
Yeah, my name's Arna, he/they pronouns. I'm a member of TESC in South Sound and senator for Movement May. And I'm here for similar reasons. I was briefly saw what was going on and wanted to hear what people who are actually doing.
Hi, I'm Sabina Jeffrey. I'm a member here as faculty to support the process and be the institution accountable and what we're saying. And yeah, we're interested in the next steps.
Hi, I'm Jeannie. I'm an emeritus faculty from Code Economy, and I'm here to support the process and see how you're able to move forward in the next steps.
I'm Marlo. I use every pronoun. I'm a freshman at Evergreen, and I'm here to engage with the community that's supporting me. My name is Ian, or Echo. I use any pronouns. I was pretty involved with supporting the encampment for a while, and I was pretty present at a lot of the unfolding of it, and I'm really interested to see what it looks like moving forward with the support as much as I can. I'm not a student at the moment, but I was in the past, and I've been incredibly involved with the Evergreen community as much as I can be. I'm sadly going to be gone for the summer, but I will be moving back if I will be supported at this time for the next time.
Yay! Oh! Name, pronouns, why you're here today.
Yeah, I'm Maddie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here because I wasn't able to be at the encampment, and I want to support the people that were and take an active listening role.
What in your year?
I'm a junior. Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so thank you all so much for coming. We have this agenda here today, but based on how people have introduced themselves or why they're here, it does seem that the discussion about the encampment is kind of a high priority for some folks. So does this agenda look good, or do we want to maybe have some thoughts about the encampment before we get into this lecture-y question kind of part?
Yeah, I think that if we do that, I think that would be great. I think that we should put a time limit on that because it's going to be a really long conversation. That's really important to move on.
I think I appreciate the order I think it's important. We're here right now because we're really focusing on next steps, and I feel like making sure those next steps get signed off on And then if there's people who are really interested in like kind of the processing of encampment, but I really want to be a part of like what those next steps look like.
Yeah, discussing the encampment first will like affect the rest of the conversation, and it does need a lot of time to unpack, so it should stay last.
Good? We're all good with it staying last?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, we're first going to start with a little intro about what BDS is. For time limit, how long do you think you're going to need?
At most 10 minutes, maybe 5.
Okay, so yeah, how about,
I don't know.
yeah, each of these two will probably take like less than 10, and then we can do just a small little bio break, then get into this. Does that sound good for folks? Perfect, okay.
If people would it be helpful if I went up there? Can I stay here? Go up there?
Also, there are a couple more seats at the table if any of y'all want to join.
Okay, that the rose is in the middle of you.
Yeah.
I feel super towards the side part. So I'm not blocking the mic.
Okay. So, what is BDS? BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions. It was started on, it was a call on July 9th, 2005 from a majority of Palestinian civil society organizations and political groups to a movement for divestment and sanctions against Israel. And it is following similar principles of the boycott, divest, sanctions movement that was against South Africa in the past. So the BDS call, anchored in international law and universal principles of human rights, adopts a comprehensive rights-based approach, underlining the fact that for the Palestinian people to exercise its right to self-determination, Israel must end its 3 forms of injustice that infringe international law and Palestinian rights by 1. Ending its occupation and colonization of all Arab lands and dismantling the wall. 2. Recognizing the fundamental rights of the Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel to full equality. And 3. Respecting, protecting, and promoting the rights of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes and properties as stipulated in UN Resolution 194. Okay, so the BDS call states, we, representatives of Palestinian civil society, call upon international civil society organizations and people of conscience all over the world to impose broad boycotts and implement divestment initiatives against Israel, similar to those applied to South Africa in the apartheid era. We appeal to you to pressure your respective states to impose embargoes and sanctions against Israel. We also invite conscientious Israelis to support this call for the sake of justice and genuine peace. And also do want to highlight the BDS call is explicitly targeting institutions, not individuals. So while I know there's a few, nuclear warheads or individuals that are Zionist and that rightfully we should be upset at, we need to focus this movement against the institution of Evergreen. But yeah. And then also one thing to wanted to also I know there's also a lot of like questions about like an academic boycott, and that's like shutting off like peace and schoolings in Israel and stuff that are engaged in conversation. But
I have a quote that kind of debunks that a bit. And so basically, Israel's academic institutions uphold the state of Israel and play a role in perpetuating Zionism and the occupation's violence towards Palestinians. This is a quote from Baruch Kimmerling, an Israeli academic. He said, I will be the first to admit that Israeli academic institutions are part and parcel of the oppressive Israeli state that has committed grave crimes against the Palestinian people. So this is from their own mouth, basically. So just um, okay, one more. So um, the BDS is promoting a general boycott of all products and services of Israeli companies, as well as international companies implicated in profiting from or otherwise supporting Israel's violations of international law and Palestinian rights until Israel fully complies with its obligations under international law and end its multi-tiered oppression of the Palestinian people. Promoting a boycott of all Israeli academic, cultural, athletic, and tourist institutions that are complicit in maintaining the Israeli regime of occupation, apartheid, and denial of the UN-sanctioned refugee rights. By the same token, the boycott should extend to all academic, cultural, and other events and activities that receive funds from Israel or any of its complicit institutions, or that cover up and whitewash Israel's violations of international law, as in the Brand Israel campaign and similarly deceptive initiatives. This demands raising awareness among academics, students, artists, cultural workers, and athletes about the role these institutions have played in perpetuating injustice and colonial oppression. Crossing the Palestinian BDS picket line, so to speak, by violating the widely endorsed Palestinian boycott criteria and guidelines should be denounced in the same firm language used in the past against those who played Sun City or otherwise failed to respect the anti-apartheid boycott against South Africa. Heeding the boycott guidelines is the minimum that any conscientious academic or cultural worker must do in the face of Israel's persistent and intensifying oppression. Promoting ethical investment by trade unions, faith-based organizations, local councils, private investment funds, and national pension funds, among others, by divesting from Israeli bonds and from all companies, banks, and other financial institutions that profit from or are otherwise complicit in maintaining Israel's occupation, denial of Palestinian refugee rights, or apartheid system of racial discrimination against the indigenous Palestinian citizens of Israel. I think the rest are kind of similar repeating, but just wanted to give that brief summary so everyone's kind of like gets the background knowledge of the BDS call and when it started, what it's about, and like the principles it adheres to. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I can sit.
You just had to do that because like multiple people at the encampment asked us what BDS was. So we just wanted to like make sure we were all clear on that.
It's also really important because we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think moving next, giving a little bit of an oversight into past divestment campaigns at Evergreen, kind of mentioning some of what the context for a divestment fight looks like here. I actually assume that there might be people in this room that might be able to speak more experientially to past divestment campaigns, but as I said, as student of the archives, I've been developing an article kind of outlining some of what happened in 2010 with the TESC Divest campaign. I'm going to read most of the article that I have because I think that that's going to keep me on track for pointed information that's going to be helpful. But this is still like the article draft that I'm working on. So Archive Spotlight, TESC Divest 2010. Divestment is a legal process with which withdraws financial investment in corporations and entities that engage in or profit from human rights abuses, unethical labor practices, and environmental destruction. It is wholly institutional in nature. Divestment from Israel is one strategy of international solidarity with Palestine outlined by the BDS movement that applies strategic economic pressure on corporations and entities that benefit or support Israeli apartheid and occupation. Originating in 2005 from a collection of Palestinian civil society organizations, BDS takes deliberate inspiration from South African anti-apartheid movement and should be understood as a single, non-violent, supportive organizational measure towards the liberation of Palestine. It is one that relies on deliberate mass movement over a long period of time. June 2nd, 2010, students, faculty, and staff of TESC Divest in the 2009 to 2010 academic year passed a historic vote after months of coordinating, organizing, and networking. Though not the first vote of its language, it was the first direct student vote of an entire student body to pass an overwhelming favor for divestment. The vote called first for the Evergreen State College Foundation to divest from companies that profit from Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine as part of instituting a socially responsible investment policy. And second, for a complete ban of the use of Caterpillar Inc. equipment from Evergreen's campus. These resolutions were supported each with over 70% of the student body and were followed by a unanimous resolution of the Dewey Duck Student Union calling on the Board of Trustees to provide full disclosure of Evergreen's investment, enact public divestment plan from Israel, and declare Evergreen as a tax-free campus. The 2010 divestment campaign concerned itself mainly with the functions of the Evergreen State College Foundation. As a state-funded institution, TESC established an internal yet independent entity to receive and collect private donations. The money collected by the foundation is split across various pools, some student-facing like scholarships, much towards sustaining advertising for the college, then invested in markets to increase the value of those funds. The foundation's annual reports from fiscal year 2011 to fiscal year 2022 are available on Evergreen's website. The Evergreen State College's Foundation's endowment has been invested in the University of Washington's Consolidated Endowment Fund since 2003. This has meant UW controls the investment portfolio shared by the Evergreen State College. Its HB 1640 private investment disclosure requirement as of December 31st, 2023 still features several corporations and funds with clear ties to Israel that invest significantly in the Israeli economy. In 2010, the college had a little over $5 million invested into UW's CEF. In the latest 2022 report, TESC has invested around $15 million into what is now UW's over $4 billion dollar portfolio. No documentation where Evergreen's endowment contribution is invested exists, and this fact motivated the GSU's demand for audit and disclosure. So after these student resolutions passed in 2010, they were wholly significant. They reached news lines across the country, and there was a lot of excitement around them. What happened, this being a June 2010 vote, was that this was 2 weeks before graduation. And so these resolutions hit the president's office, and students were strategizing, continuing, excited to kind of see how the college was going to respond to these resolutions. Because of course, the majority of the student population is like, hey college, you should do something about this, and you should respect our voice. there was an expectation that they would respond in kind. Some things that were observed during the summer was on August 17th, the Office of the Israeli Consul General visited TESC. Administrators there were noted by, or quoted kind of saying, I've got to imagine he would not drop by otherwise if it wasn't for the resolutions. So I just assumed that was part of the reason he was there. And there was a lot of speculation of kind of how historic this vote was, immediately getting this unprecedented visit from the Israeli Consul General, that there might have been conversations behind closed doors. There was also a note of noticing the president at the time and the vice president of student affairs at the time signing on to stand together. And so the following September, what happened was the president of the college sent out this email that was essentially like, hey, you know, as an academic institution, the college has a fundamental reason to refrain from taking political positions, implying that like divestment was going to be too political of a position for the college to take. He also kind of bounced this notion and dodged this notion and did not have any direct acknowledgement of like, you know, a college should respond to what its student body is pushing for. And he instead was like, well, if you're really concerned in these ways, maybe you should talk to the board of trustees. Maybe you should talk to the foundation people. Maybe you should talk to this vice president of financial affairs, not really setting out any tools for action besides like, shit, that sucks, guys. Like, I'm sorry. And that was a very confusing situation as like observing, I'm pulling from like blog posts from student writings of the time where people were very confused, like this implication that this campaign could be run and there was no policy to back or force the hand of the institution to do anything. And there were some very powerful like student actions to come from this time. There was a like street theater mock apartheid wall that went up that was basically like, hey, we demand that the college put something in place that it has to honor student resolutions, because that's not a policy that existed then and continues not to be a policy now. And the best that was delivered in this situation was that the students went up to administration, expected something to happen because it should, and when they were continually bounced and not given a way to sit and influence what the next steps were, the way the news media had portrayed these historic, like, off-campus other things became part of the collective consciousness that they had won and that there was no fight to continue, and that the places that students were then turning their attention to try and push further became very distracting to a cohesive concentration. And I bring a lot of that context forward from that particular instance because while I think it mirrors a lot of the dangers that this current divestment position we are in will face, what we have is materially different. We are in a materially different time. We have a signed document that has been posted publicly, and in that nature, even though MOUs not inherently, and if the bargaining team can kind of clarify this also, not inherently legally binding in the ways that they have circulated and expressed this agreement have contractual obligations now to follow through on these action items. I also believe that, again, like, divestment is an inherently institutional process. It requires maneuvering and outmaneuvering what bureaucratic like pieces are set in place, because money is tied in that process. It's not something, divestment is also not like canceling a Netflix subscription. Just as 2010 is talking about like, hey, we don't even know where the fucking money is. The foundation doesn't know where the fucking money is. We still don't know where the fucking money is. And auditing is a painful spreadsheet process that should very well be expedited by continued student pressure and continued action in this regard. But there are pieces of understanding, particularly what it means to concentrate a like material solidarity with Palestine on an academic institution that is going to look different than immediate economic blockade direct actions. And that doesn't mean that those like strategies can't coexist, but particularly with the divestment campaign, we need to be orienting ourselves in knowing policy better, understanding what the institution, this institution does to disempower students. And also, I do emphasize the fact that TESC, with this $15 million in this large portfolio that isn't just in companies investing in Israel, there is a question mark if we even have money in Israel or in these Israeli companies because of how money is broken down through this portfolio. But getting that hard answer and making sure that no money in the future goes to Israel through these endowments and is the fight that can be waged and is the fight that is waged through divestment. So that's my little overview.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie, for that. To also add some context, Caterpillar is also, that's the company that, of the bulldozer that ran over Rachel Corey. So just, yeah, to add that context. And also, yeah, I think a couple other really important things that we have in ours is it goes beyond just like divestment financially, and it's also towards like no study abroad, which I think is really important.
And the grants.
What's that?
Grants.
Oh yes, and the grants too. So now, not just like Zionist grants too, but any like grant that is given that can violate, like, I don't know how it's worded, but the policy, like human rights based policy, Evergreen is not going to be allowed to use it.
Would it be possible to now kind of go through the MOU?
Oh, I think, hold on. There are some hands, so let's finish up this conversation first.
I was just briefly going to say, for people who want more information into how the college is invested, or who want more information into how colleges are invested generally, Evergreen follows something called the Yale model, which is the most common current form of investment in colleges. Essentially, during the anti-apartheid BDS movement, one of the we have an additional structural sort of like hurdle that we have to overcome that was not present there, because colleges maintain their own direct investment portfolios. So like Brown, for example, would have like 200,000 shares in Raytheon or something that they would personally purchase and own as a college. But in the mid-90s, Yale was like, this is a pain. We're going to start outsourcing this to these new things called venture funds and hedge funds, right? Which are private companies that do your investing for you, take a cut off the profit, and then give you the rest. And so almost all American colleges and universities currently just contract out through these venture capitalists, these venture funds and these hedge funds, which means that it's that's an additional hurdle we have to overcome, is getting the funds to disclose to the school where the money is, and then getting the school to withdraw from funds with money in Israel. That's one of the various additional hurdles, just to give people more. And you can Google it if you like. There's some good resources online helping students who want to divest from their colleges. But yeah, the Yale model is what it's called. And that's just to give people more information and clarity regarding additional institutional steps that we're going to have to get past to make sure this works.
Wait, Jennifer, did you have something to say, or you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I guess I'm confused why we expect Evergreen's more likely to follow through with the memorandum if it's not legally binding.
I can speak to that. So, this has all been. I'm just gonna go through it. So this has all been confirmed by a lawyer with significant experience in contract law. So essentially, the title of a document does not have bearing on whether or not it's legally binding. MOUs can be legally binding, they aren't always, but what matters is the presence of 4 specific elements that have to be present in order for a contract to be legally binding. And those elements are mutual assent, which is expressed by an offer and agreement of that offer, which we have. Adequate consideration, which means that both parties must have something to offer to each other. So Evergreen's consideration was everything that they agreed to do. The consideration of the Evergreen Gaza Solidarity Encampment was to deconstruct the physical encampment on campus and to clean up everything. Also, capacity. So both parties must have the capacity to understand what they're agreeing to, and that's to make sure that like a 5-year-old isn't signing a legally binding contract. That wouldn't work. That wouldn't be binding. And legality. So everything in the agreement has to be legal, obviously. And a point to note there is that Evergreen did allow the encampment to exist on its grounds by making an exception to the habitation policy and extending that throughout the duration of the encampment. So it was all legal, is my understanding and the understanding of the lawyer that we consulted with. So that means that the document is a legally enforceable contract. It likely wouldn't play out in court though, because we have the power as students to hold them to this agreement. And it is important that they have publicly committed to the contract, to following through. It's posted on the website. They've sent out emails with links to it. So that is one thing to help ensure that it goes through.
And with students deciding to take down the encampment, does that mean that Evergreen following through is contingent on there not being another encampment, or is it just?
So, yeah, this is another point to clarify. Just because the physical encampment was deconstructed doesn't mean that the Evergreen Gaza Solidarity Encampment as an association of students who signed the agreement it doesn't mean that no longer exists. So the Evergreen Gaza Solidarity Encampment can be understood in legal terms as an unincorporated association, and those have unincorporated associations are recognized under the law, and they have the capacity to make agreements to sign legally binding contracts. So the status of the physical encampment does not mean that the agreement is no longer valid or binding.
It's like if you were charged with fraud at your business and then your business no longer exists, but you still have that fraud charge.
And I was just gonna add, the repercussions for not following through with the MOU will be determined by the task force as they're assembled and they're drafted. So, not having repercussions allowed the DTFs to kind of meet together and see what the consequences should be with more deliberation in time.
Jim.
Yeah. Additionally, directly to your point about does that mean that there can't be another encampment? That would have been explicitly said in the document for that to be part of the agreement, and that was not explicitly said in the document. So there's nothing part of the agreement that says there can't be another encampment.
And I also want to add, just as we're going into discussing some of the nitty-gritty of the MOU, a few safeguards that we included in the document to make sure that the DTFs are effective and that what they accomplish is not later rescinded. So one thing is that the DTFs are going to have 3 students and 2 faculty on each of them. The students will be appointed by the GUIDEC Student Union, so they won't be appointed by administration. and the faculty will be appointed by the faculty agenda committee, and we are going to push hard to make sure that those faculty are ones who are supportive and excited about getting these things done. Another safeguard is that in the document it's written that any policy changes implemented as a result of the work of these task forces will not be rescinded without a similar public process. So what that means is that if the Evergreen administration in the future wanted to undo the work of the committees, for instance, revoking the new divestment policy that's going to be implemented or dissolving the new police services community review board, as happened in the past, they would have to go through a similar negotiation process with the student body and would have to come to another agreement like this one to make that happen, and we aren't going to let that happen. We will not accept that.
One more sort of kind of clarifying thing. Yeah, so the Gaza Solidarity Encampment is like considered like a representation of the student body. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I feel like also with the document, it stated that the Gaza Solidarity can be taken down that day. So it was like an extra day going through. So I think that also kind of conferred on another day if something was to be kind of erected to also show more student voices, student pressure.
Yeah, exactly. There were no provisions against future student actions. So yeah, our responsibility now is to develop a framework. There's been talk about developing a student organization that is dedicated specifically to monitoring the status of the DTFs and ensuring that everything is followed through on. But yeah, it's on us to keep the pressure on. None of us have said that like we want it's over. The fight continues, and we are going to maintain pressure, and that is part of the reason why we're all meeting here today, is to talk about how we're gonna do that. So,
I know 2 years seems like a really long time, but there are some things on campus that we can do right now to get some divestments. I'm going to be meeting with Ben, who is in charge of the Aramark contract, to write a BDS proposal for the things that are in the pod to get those things taken out. So if you are interested in helping with that for the next like 2 to 3 weeks, you can come and talk to me.
Yeah, because BDS goes beyond just the investments. It's about the products that we consume on campus.
any other questions or clarifications about the MOU itself?
Can we get some clarification? I don't know if this was touched on the like new faculty getting appointed and like if there are ways that we can, I don't know how that's.
Well, if faculty here want to speak on that, I think like my understanding is that there isn't a lot of knowledge yet around how it's going to work, but you were saying that.
Okay. Essentially, as Alex just pointed out, the faculty agenda committee is the body to appoint, which is, important that was stipulated in the MOU, because then that means that the administration is not in charge of appointing. The signatories some of the signatories of the faculty support letter have gotten together to try to figure out who among those might be able to step into some of the roles. Part of a challenge here is that there's more governance than we can possibly do, and we want to make sure that it's people who are excited and committed to do the work of the MOU, obviously. So trying to get people to say, yeah, I'm down to work on X, I'm down to work on Y, So Sabina and I and others are trying to reach out to our colleagues and try to figure out who we can recommend that the agenda committee appoint. So that's where we are now, and I think we have a chance to talk to the agenda committee on Monday. We'll see how many people we can garner with commitments between now and then. It may be a work in progress. But clearly, we need the time, and we need to get people on as quick as you all are, right? So that the bodies can be this quarter for an MOU. You want anything, Sabina?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Any other questions? And if anything comes up for anyone, feel free to reach out to me or other members of the bargaining team. We're happy to provide any clarifications or answer questions.
Okay. Do we want to have GSU rep go over getting students appointed to it?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to come up here?
Yeah.
Okay, and then after this, we should take a quick break and then come back together. Can we do it after the break?
So, to clarify for everyone, I am the GSC rep that was part of the bargaining team. I am the GSC director of legislative affairs, and I'm also the student representative to the board of trustees. I'll actually be giving my report on the state of the student body this next Wednesday. That's going to be wild. But basically, how it's going to work is that there is going to be a intake form. So it's going to be a Microsoft form that's going to be dropped sometime today. I don't know. I haven't seen an email of it dropping yet, but it's going to drop sometime today, and it's going to have some questions, just basic questions on like what year you are, and then also questions on like what committee are you interested in. Now it is a general student governance intake form for just trying to see like how many people are interested, but it is also something to pull up students to make nominations for these DTFs. So just so everyone is aware, when it does come, it's just so you can start thinking about it. The two big questions are basically like why are you interested in being part of student government? What committees do you want to be on? And what's your like time commitment? Important thing to think about too, like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, and then like what skills do you want schools to know about? So that's going to drop, and it's really important that we like get on that and we do it. Now the person on the GSU who is going to be making these nominations is the Vice President of Internal Affairs. Unfortunately, they're going to be out for like until next Sunday. And so it's basically we have to wait until it pulls up, and then those nominations can begin. And then once the nominations are selected, the GSU will interview and vote on appointing people to the DTFs. Now, I think it's very important that, I just want people to know that there are two people, there's me and Chandiri, who really do a lot of work on the GSU. And everyone else kind of just hangs around. And so we need pressure on that. We have general meetings every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. on Zoom. It's stupidly hard to get to. If you do sites.evergreen.edu/GSU, that is our website. Yeah. On the board. Yes, I'll put it on the board. Good point. Great.
Yay! Whiteboard authoritarianism.
Wait, that's not my story. Is it the site not?
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Slay.
There we are. And then you'll have to go, and I'll also put some notes. It's in the updates section. The Zoom link on the agendas. And it's all the same link, so whatever one you click on, it's fine. You can look at what the agenda is if you click on the most recent one, but whatever. So importantly, though, I think that, so next Monday, we're actually not